All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to look at a totally different way of thinking about a multi-million-dollar decision, and we're using the Los Angeles real estate market as our lab. I mean, this is a place where fortunes are made and lost, right? And a new model is bubbling up that challenges the very idea of what a real estate agent should even be.
And this slide, this really is the whole ballgame right here. When you are buying or selling an asset worth millions of dollars, and let's be real, it's probably the biggest financial move you will ever make. Who do you want in your corner? Do you want a salesperson who's focused on the deal? Or do you want a strategist who's focused on your long-term financial health? I mean, that one question, it changes everything.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we're going to look beyond just this simple transaction. Then we'll dig into the two pillars of this model, that deep local knowledge and a true financial strategist's way of thinking. We'll see how that combo creates a whole new kind of professional, the advisor, and how that idea can scale up into an entire ecosystem. And then we're going to tackle the big one. Is this where real estate is heading?
Okay, first up, let's go beyond the transaction. The whole idea here is to shift the goalposts, right? It's not just about closing a deal anymore. It's about managing a massive financial asset. And to see how this actually works, we're going to use the approach of an LA-based advisor, Tom Levine, as our case study.
So what's the problem this model is even trying to solve? Well, it's simple. A market like Los Angeles isn't just a list of properties you can scroll through on a website. No way. It's this incredibly tangled web of micro-neighborhoods, invisible market forces, and decisions that can literally alter your life. You're going to need a lot more than just the search filter to get through that successfully. And that brings us right to the first pillar of this whole advisor model, the Native Angelino advantage. You see, the idea is that before you can even begin to talk strategy, you have to have an almost cellular-level understanding of the ground you're standing on. And listen, we're not just talking about knowing the freeways. This means having a truly encyclopedic knowledge of the territory. We're talking from downtown all the way to Santa Monica, from the Hollywood sign down to Marina del Rey. It means understanding the unique vibe, the investment DNA of every single one of these neighborhoods. This super granular, on-the-ground intelligence, that's the foundation. Everything else gets built on top of that. So you've got that local knowledge as your base. Now we add the second layer, the one that really changes the game, thinking like a financial strategist. This is where we really see a departure from the traditional real estate model.
And this quote, wow, it gets right to the soul of the philosophy. Independent counsel matters more than volume. No algorithm. That is a direct shot at the traditional brokerage model, which is so often just a volume game, right? How many deals can we close this quarter? This model completely flips that script. It makes the quality of the advice the one and only metric that matters.
And this table just lays out the two competing mindsets perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you have the advisor, totally focused on confidential strategy. On the other, the traditional brokerage, focused on public sales and volume. You know, one is playing chess, thinking several moves ahead for their clients' finances. The other is often just trying to win the game that's right in front of them. They are starting from two completely different universes. And this strategic mindset, it isn't just a talking point. We're talking about over 25 years on the front lines, first in the super high-stakes world of securities and now in real estate. So this isn't a sales background, it's a financial one, sharpened by advising wealthy people and institutions on huge capital decisions. So what happens when you smash those two things together, that deep local knowledge and that financial strategist's brain? Well, you get a totally new professional role. Let's really look at the agent versus the advisor. And this brings us to the role itself, the confidential advocate. The mission is so simple, but it's also profound. It's to be a trusted advisor whose their only goal, is to help the client make a rational, data-driven decision. In a process that can be incredibly emotional and overwhelming, the advocate's job is to be the voice of reason, focused entirely on the client's long-term portfolio health, not the short-term commission. And you can see how this actually plays out in the real world from client feedback. This testimonial points out that it's not just about the numbers. The client says he's a resource that can't be compared, who understands the many lifestyles in Los Angeles. That shows the model working perfectly, connecting that high-level financial strategy to the very personal reality of how a client actually wants to live their life. And then this client zeroes in on the personal traits you need for this job: ethical, smart, and relentless. I mean, listen to those words. They sound more like you're describing a lawyer or a fiduciary, not a typical salesperson. And that last line, you will reap a golden harvest. It frames the whole relationship, not as a one-time transaction, but as a long-term investment in getting good counsel. So here's the bottom line. The end result of this advisor model isn't just a closed deal, it's earning a reputation as a worthy and loyal advocate. The goal is to move way beyond these one-off transactions, to build real, long-term client confidence and trust.
Okay, so this sounds great for one advisor, but how do you apply this philosophy at a bigger scale? That's where this ecosystem of expertise comes into play, because this isn't just one person's approach. It's actually a blueprint for a whole network of specialized services.
And you can see right here how that core DNA gets replicated across all these different specializations. You've got the full-service brokerage, the hyperlocal neighborhood expert, the high-level strategic advisory group for big-picture analysis, and even a specialized team for distressed assets. They're all targeting different needs, but they are all operating from the exact same playbook. Strategy comes first, the transaction comes second.
And all of this brings us to our final section, and it's a big one, the future of real estate. What can we really learn from a model like this about where professional services might be headed in general?
And here's what it all boils down to. In a world that is just drowning in data, a world obsessed with algorithms, this model makes a bet that goes against the grain. It's wagering that the ultimate value isn't in having more information, but in having better human judgment, proven financial wisdom, and real strategic counsel.
Which leaves us with this final, crucial question for the future. As AI and big data continue to automate pretty much everything, does that true, confidential human counsel become obsolete? Or does it actually become the most valuable asset of all? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.